I'm Mary Byers, and this is Associations Today. My guest today is Steve Stahr, CEO of the Million Dollar Roundtable. And MDRT has a couple of things that it does that I think are of interest to associations. And the first thing really is counterintuitive. MDRT actually has some pretty rigorous membership requirements. And a lot of associations are afraid to make their membership elite because they want to include members, they don't want to drive them away. But that actually works in your favor in some ways, Steve. So tell us a little bit about what makes MDRT so special.
Sure. Actually, we have three levels to our membership requirement. The first one is that MDRT has always been about achievement. And so members must reach a certain production requirement to join MDRT. So there's kind of that level of achievement there that sort of sets our members apart from others. The second is ethical conduct. Our members must always adhere to ethical conduct. If they have any sort of issue at all relative to their conduct with a client, they will not be eligible for membership. And then the third one is we encourage our members to get involved in other industry associations so that they can demonstrate their participation and their commitment to the industry beyond MDRT. We want them involved in other associations. But getting back to the production requirement, what that does for us is it really creates the exclusivity and prestige of the brand. That is something that MDRT has been known for a number of years. And what that does for us really is it allows us leverage with insurance companies where we get membership from, that they're looking for ways to increase productivity, and it allows us an entree into companies because they view our membership requirement as really a benchmark and as a standard of excellence. The other thing it does is it allows us access to these executives at these insurance companies to really kind of tell our story about MDRT and to create awareness among them that, again, drives membership and drives attendance at our meetings. I think the third thing it does is it allows us to concentrate our resources in regions of the world that are important to us, where we have critical masses of members. We don't spend a lot of time in places where members and individuals don't qualify for membership, but we look at places where people do qualify, where we have that potential for that critical mass of membership. It also helps guide us in developing products and services, as we're not trying to be all things to all people. We have a niche among the producers in the insurance industry. We know that these people are looking for high-level content, and we're able to focus our efforts on that high-level content that helps drive membership. And then the last thing it does is because membership is seen as exclusive, because it's seen as prestigious, it really helps drive premium pricing of membership products and services. And that's something I think that's very important to MDRT, is that premium pricing allows us to maintain a level of pricing that we don't ever have to discount our products and services depending on any time of year or depending on economic conditions. And I think one example of this would be back in 2009, when the world fell apart economically, things weren't going well. We, MDRT, actually increased our dues $100, and membership increased. And that was a clear sign to us that the exclusivity of the brand, the prestige of the brand, even in a down economic cycle globally, allowed us to increase our dues and drive increased membership. So that was a lesson for us on the importance of our brand.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that whole exclusivity, because with that and with those requirements, I'm sure means some work for the membership department. And let's talk a little bit about what that means for you internally in terms of bringing members in and making sure they continue to meet requirements.
Sure. Well, membership department, certainly anytime you have a membership process that requires more than just people joining, where they can go online and click and join and give us a credit card or give us a check, it's going to mean more work for our staff. And certainly that's true here. And this is a really interesting question for us right now at this time in our life cycle as an association, because for the first time, we've actually created an online application process. And I know it sounds crazy in 2014 that an association that regards itself as high level, regards itself as prestigious, just now went online with an online application process, but it has a lot to do with our requirements. And our production requirements, the way people qualify for membership, is so cumbersome and so complicated because it needs to be to maintain exclusivity. It's taken us a long time to create a system that would actually work. But it did work this year, and it worked better than we ever would have imagined. We anticipated about 1,200 people actually using our online system. We had 12,000 people use our online application without any issues at all.
But one thing that you've proven is that technology can be, regardless of how complicated membership requirements are, technology can be an ally in terms of streamlining the process, making it as easy as possible, and making the best use of your human capital internally. Let's move now to another intriguing aspect of MDRT, and that's the fact that you are run by a 5-member executive committee and have no board. And I know that when you tell people that, there's a little bit of disbelief and they want to make sure they're really understanding what's happening. But quickly, just talk a little bit about how that works for you and how it makes you nimble in terms of making decisions on behalf of the association.
Sure, absolutely. You're right. When I tell people that we don't have a board of directors, I am the envy of all of my peers in the business who do have boards of directors, and I've yet to meet someone who doesn't have one. But MDRT is governed by a 5-member executive committee with an ex officio CEO. And you've written about that in your book, and it certainly is a way that MDRT has been successful. We've had this governance model forever. We have never had a board of directors, and it does work well for us. It allows for flexibility. It allows timely decisions to be made. It allows for consensus and cohesion among the team. And I think it really is probably the best way to govern an organization. Now, the downside to it, if there are downsides, is that you don't have a lot of representation. And when you're a global organization like we are and you have members in 80 countries, representation is an important thing in your governance model. When you only have 5 positions, it really limits the amount of representation that you can have. And so what we did a few decades ago, and we continue to massage it, and we have grown this, is we put a level of management, if you will, or governance in between our executive committee and our committee chairs. And all of our committees are kind of housed in divisions. We created a level of management called management council. And each of these positions on management council, there are 13 of them, are called divisional vice presidents, each in charge of a division. And what that has done for us is it's allowed us to put people in a governance position for 1 year. It's a 1-year appointment, and management council is advisory only to the executive committee, but it allows us to give people a leadership opportunity. It allows us to see them in a leadership capacity, and allows the executive committee to have a pseudo board to bounce ideas off of, to hear input from, yet the executive committee is the lone governing body and the decision-making body. So from my point of view, it allows us a lot of freedom and really the benefits of both worlds of having a board, if you will, you can bounce ideas off of and get input from, but on the other hand, have a 5-member executive committee that can govern very quickly, very flexibly, and I think very effectively.
Steve, last question here. Talk about if you've got everybody serving in that capacity and they all serve a year, then presumably they all turn over at the same time. So you lose consistency that you would have if they served a multi-year term. So as we wrap up here, could you address that?
Sure. We do lose a little bit of consistency, but the consistency that we have really is with the executive committee. And each executive committee person is a liaison to a divisional vice president or more, and their job is to really get that divisional vice president up to speed with everything going on in the organization. There's constant flow of communication. But I think the upsides of having new, fresh bodies, new, fresh minds and perspectives, looking at the issues facing MDRT, is really more of a benefit to us than it is, I think, a detriment. And because the executive committee is that one piece, along with the CEO, that is the constant, we're able to, I think, get really good input, very good perspective from our management council, and not really lose too much on the consistency.
Wonderful, Steve. Thank you so much. This is Mary Byers with Associations Today. I would like to thank my producer, ComPartners. And if you're looking for an online learning provider, I suggest you contact them at compartners.com.